What's good, everybody? We're back with another exciting episode of Ticket to Anywhere podcast. We are your host. I'm Trizzy.
I'm Leah, LA in Flight.
And you can check us out on our YouTube channel, Ticket number 2 Anywhere podcast, for a visual. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and you'll follow all our new episodes that we just uploaded. But if you prefer to listen to us on the go, we're streaming on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, Stitcher, Google, and Pocket Cast.
Yes, we're so excited. Today's interview, we have the Cotta Brothers Travel Club on the show today. Welcome, you guys. So for those of you that are not already following the Cotta Brothers on Instagram or following their blog, they're a pair of brothers, Brendan and Jared, as you can see here, who've explored the world and come back to Miami and now Arizona in the US to share their stories via a blog, their guides, and a podcast as well. And I hear that this is your guys' first podcast interview. Is that correct?
This is the first time that we've been interviewed. We're
Yes.
usually the interviewers, so we're trying to put our mind right. Like I can just step back and relax and let the questions come to me.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you guys give us a rundown of what Cotta Brothers is all about?
Yeah, so we started this travel podcast almost foolishly during the middle of COVID-19 quarantine. And we kind of used it more as a way to escape. Like we didn't necessarily want to talk just about our adventures, even though we've been to a lot of places and we consider ourselves well-traveled. But we thought that maybe we should connect with some of our friends that we knew we weren't going to see for a little while, maybe not this long, but we were able to talk to some of our friends in Singapore and Iceland and just all over the world and even make some new connections. So it was really our way to escape and hopefully bring a little bit of escape to our listeners.
That is awesome. So did the blog and the website and the guides, that all come with the podcast, or was one started before the other?
Well, we started them all together. Like I decided that this time, actually, Brendan, maybe you want to talk about our original podcast, the first one that we started, which is actually not about travel at all.
No, yeah. So for about like 3 years before the Cotta Brothers Travel Club, we did a show called Bit Party, which is kind of on a brief hiatus, but that was just a movie podcast with our brothers and like a way to stay in touch with our brothers. And then Jared and I, since we were living together in Miami, wanted to do something on our own. We both love travel. We both thought it'd be interesting to connect with people who also love travel. And that's how the Cotta Brothers Travel Club started.
So it all came together at the same time. I was like, all right, this time for the podcast, I'm going to do the blog, the website with the show itself.
I love it.
Nice.
I love that. Yeah. And if you check out CottaBrothersTravelClub.com and the podcast, everything flows through there, your podcast as well. You guys are heavily destination based, but you're also giving up stories like life as a nomad and, veteran war stories and different types of topics. So make sure to check them out on their website.
It's so cute because you guys feature family members as well. And it's just like we're a part of your family at a dinner table and they're just discussing like a vacation that they just had or something. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. That was what we love about like talking with our grandmother. She was a travel agent for a really long time. And so I've been trying to get her to tell me the number of countries that she's visited. And this was all during like the 80s. And she has been everywhere. So we had a great episode with her talking about visiting China and the Soviet Union essentially during the Cold War. And then we talked to her again to connect about our trips to Peru that were actually like 30 years apart.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like bringing
They're our family's favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's the only way we can get our aunts and uncles to listen to us.
Literally no one in my family listens to our travels. I think one of my like distant cousins does, but that's so great. And I love how you were like in the Melbourne episode, you're like, oh, we were asking your mom who we should bring on next to the show. And so this is how we came up with our guests. I'm like, that is adorable.
She's always feeding us new guests. It's great.
I love that. That's what family's for, helping each other out. So the reason I wanted to bring you guys on this show, because I was listening to your lovely podcast and I came up with this brilliant idea. You guys are always asking others, what do you love? Based on these 4 pillars, what do you love about this country, or like where would you go next, or how would you rank these 4 pillars in this country that you just visited? But I want to, you know, turn the tables and ask you guys to build your perfect country. Those 4 pillars are food, nightlife, culture, and outdoors, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was sort of our way to put our mind right when it came to figuring out how to have the perfect adventure, like these destinations. We know that most destinations have these 4 things. So we're just like trying to get that out of our guests.
I love that. And now it's your guys' turn to build that. And you can build it together, or you can tell us your own, like your separate recommendations, which I'm sure that's what it might come down to, right? And just let us know why.
The Cotta Brothers Travel Club prides themselves on being very prepared, even if we are the interviewees. So yes, we've talked about it. We both have different places / topics. So we are building our own, essentially.
Let's talk about food.
Definitely one of my favorite topics when it comes to traveling.
Oh yeah. That's why people travel usually. It's food.
Absolutely. And it's the first thing you think about when you get off the plane or like get out of your car.
100%. You get to Thailand and you're like, where's my pad thai? Where's my mango sticky rice?
That's what I did.
That sounds delicious. Well, I'm gonna say for my food destination, one of the best food places that I've been to is Buenos Aires. I'm a huge fan of Latin American cuisine in general, but also what Argentina blends in is a lot of European cuisine, a lot of steaks, which is pretty good. And the places that I went to when I visited Buenos Aires are 2 top 100 restaurants in the world, according to, you know, some of the important lists out there. So I went to Don Julio, which is a steak restaurant, and I went to Singu. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but it was like a 10-course wine pairing menu for like $110. I had some of the most amazing like smoked goat and like just incredible like river trout. Really, really cool. So Buenos Aires is probably my food location.
I'm going to interject really quickly and say I lived 100 yards from Buenos Aires, or from Don Julio, for 6 months, because I lived in Buenos Aires for 6 months. So I went there like 3 times while I was there. And of course I brought my family while we were there, and they couldn't believe how inexpensive it was compared to, you know, the US. You're getting like top quality steak, cheap wine from the source, right? All the Malbec from just across the country. And I'm actually a vegetarian, but I was there before. I've been a vegetarian for 7 years, but for like 2 weeks, I allowed myself not to be a vegetarian, which made me very sick. Just so I could literally come back from there and say, yeah, I had the steak. So I literally ate something that I haven't eaten in years, just to say that I did.
All right. What about you, Brendan?
This is a tough one, because I feel like Jared and I have traveled to a lot of places with great cuisine. But I think that the place that just stood out as my favorite would probably be Tel Aviv, Israel, because it's got such a like the Mediterranean, Middle Eastern like fusion with all the very fresh flavors and like all the different spices that they use. I feel like from the street food to more like formal going out food, it's all incredible. And that would probably be like where I enjoyed the most.
Damn, I don't know if this is a good idea talking about food early in the morning prior to me not eating.
Brendan, what were some of the like street food items that you would get there? I know things in Israel, like their salads and a lot of things, produce is like super fresh, but what are some street food items you would eat in Tel Aviv?
I feel like the main 3 are falafel, shawarma, and kebabs.
Ooh.
And so you just like, there's at all the like major tourist sites, there are stands for those. Anywhere you're walking, there's like you just pass by a shop with meat spinning on like the spit. You just go in and and the falafel, like it's hard to find in other places just because like the flavors that they use in their falafel are out of this world.
Unreal. And is it also like late night drunk food, like get out of the club at 4 a.m. or whatever and people go grab like a kebab or falafel?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's the new Jack in the Box?
Especially in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, it's super good. I think that we kept on hitting this one spot on like a corner, definitely another like nameless location that had such awesome shawarma. And so after the bars when we were there, just grab that and go. Super good.
That's awesome. I love that. I also want to point out that you two picked, I feel like, pretty unconventional places for food. So kudos to both of you on that.
Yeah, I
Because
love it.
like even me, my example was Thailand. Like everyone's gonna say Thailand. Like
Thailand's a good one though. That is.
It is.
We haven't had a Thailand episode yet, but I'm sure that the food in that one would be incredible.
Oh, yes.
unreal. Like it's everything people hype it up to be, which is why I used it as my example.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It's hard to come back and pay like $20 a dish when you're back
know.
home, when you're paying literally $1.50 for it in Thailand. So
We've talked to a lot of friends that are either from or living in or have family in places that have tremendous street food scenes. So we still have to get to Taipei and to Singapore to really try those vendors.
Trizzy's been to both in the
Yes.
same, almost like
Singapore,
in the same trip.
yeah. Almost in the same year. My cousin lives in Singapore, so when we visited, he took us on a walking food tour.
The
And
hawkers.
yeah, it's amazing, especially their desserts too, but we ain't got to talk about that right now.
All right, so the next category we have is nightlife and drinks and going out and having a good time in general, even if it's like not drinking. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm going to go first because I think that unlike our food category, this is a much more basic answer. And I was racking my brain, but listen, everywhere that we go, we find a good time. I mean, it's hard to go to a place that doesn't have at least some kind of nightlife scene. I've been to great places in South America. I love South America. I love the Caribbean, and those are always really fun. But when it comes to just like honestly, the best night out, Las Vegas. It's crazy. I mean, let's go. When are you gonna find?
I was not expecting that. That's so funny.
You can do anything in Las Vegas.
That. Oh my God! Oh,
Another
Trizzy
place
and I
that
know.
Leah has lived.
Trizzy, yeah, I've lived there. I lived there for 3 years, but Trizzy and I know Las Vegas.
It's our neighbor. Yeah,
It's our neighbor, but like not. I mean, you need it. We went there like every month for like 3 years straight from like
my
college.
gosh,
But
yeah.
tell us about you just said you could find anything in Las Vegas, but
Yeah,
please
well,
tell us more.
I don't know if people know, but Brendan and I are actually originally from San Diego, California. So we grew up in the West. And let's be real. Like Miami and Vegas go toe to toe. We didn't want to bring up that. We didn't want to brag on your show that we lived in Miami. I still live in Miami. It's the place that people come to vacation. I just walk over to South Beach anytime I want. Yeah,
brag.
It's awesome.
Also brag on our show. That's why we have you guys on. Please brag.
So we didn't want to brag, but but we live in Miami.
We'll power through.
We'll power through. Besides that, so I was like, man, but really, Las Vegas is so much fun. I mean, if you think about some of the best nights that you've had, and just the glamour, the activities, but honestly, you could even go to Old Town Las Vegas and have like cocktails at a dingy club or a dive bar and grab a cold beer. I mean, the mix of the lights and the sound and the DJs that you could see and the things that you can do. We actually were just there recently with our whole family, which is another thing that I love about it, is that it doesn't matter what age you are. Everybody loves Vegas. And we did the high roller with the bar in the pod. All the drinks, open bar, going around a big Ferris wheel. I mean, where else are you going to do something like that?
I know.
That's
real.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So it's a basic answer, but I mean, when you really think about some of your best nights out, I think that we all think about.
Oh yeah, if you can remember them in Vegas.
Yeah, if you can remember them.
Literally half the trips I don't remember. I'm like, what did we do? Why are we here again?
How is it Sunday night already?
Yeah.
And I love how you said it's for any ages, even in the nightlife. Because I remember going there when I was young with my family, and there was just like arcades, like the weird circus, and you could just walk and be like entertained by the lights and the water shows and the pirate shows, and yeah.
It's something else. It's definitely that might be a basic answer. I think it's extreme. Brendan has something a little bit more unique, so I'll throw it to him.
I think one of my best nights out traveling was when Jared and I were in we spent a weekend in Cartagena, Colombia.
Yeah.
That was like a little bit different of a vibe from Vegas.
Yeah.
A little bit less kids. Like I feel like Colombia is like, it's grown so much as a destination, but it's still mostly you see people that are like of a certain age with a certain like adventurous mindset about traveling. So going out, you like see a lot of people that are in your same position. and the like rooftop bars are unbelievable. The food that you can get when you're just walking around at night is incredible. And just that, like, the Caribbean wind that you're getting as you're like
Yes.
lounging on a bar and drinking a mojito was phenomenal.
So good.
Sheesh.
I do love Colombia. It's my favorite country in South America. But
Nice. Yeah,
That
that's a
is-
good pick.
I feel like those are both wonderful, unconventional answers as well. Like, Jared, you said Vegas is basic, but it's not, because I feel like people would be like, oh, Hong Kong or like
Yeah.
or like Madrid, you know, but
Mhm.
we were not expecting you to
Yeah.
come home.
I wasn't expecting domestic.
Neither was I.
expecting some international, but that's yeah.
Mhm.
I love how you both describe the places. It kind of just put me in there, and I was just swaying to my own beat.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Nightlife is important.
Those
The nightlife
Vegas
is
club.
important.
Yes. I love that. That's so great. Good answers, you guys.
What's next? Culture?
Culture.
Culture.
Yeah.
All right. Hit us
Let me
with some culture.
Let me start kind of by defining the culture category. So I think it's something about like just the way that you can, walk down the street, the things that you see when you are just like living in that city, or you're just like existing in that place. It's also like the museums and the historic sites and the history behind it too. So it's kind of like the miscellaneous category in a lot of ways, but I think that we think a little bit about the museums and the art and things like that. So that's just to set the framework. So I had originally said, I think an easy answer for me is Jerusalem in Israel, because I think for us, like as Jewish men, like we really always go back to the homeland, to our place. And so Jerusalem, that's an easy one. I lived in Jerusalem for a little while. So
Cool.
that one is really, that's really personal for me. But I also wanted to kind of expand outside of like to more unique places. So I think one of the most interesting cultural places I've ever been to was Barcelona. I mean, that's a beautiful place, amazing museums, incredible, like everything about that culture and having the beach there, but being a European destination, I really loved it in Barcelona. I do want to also throw in though, because I didn't know where this landed, either nightlife or culture. Carnival in Rio, that was another cultural experience that I highly recommend to people.
My goodness.
That's
So your
great.
country is Barcelona, but with a carnival.
Yes, I would say
Barcelona with
Spain,
carnival.
Barcelona, Spain
Right?
with a carnival.
I'm sure they have their own version of it.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Or some festival.
I haven't been in Barcelona yet, weirdly enough, because people say it's
Same.
like LA.
Gosh, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily relate it to LA, but I can see how people would. Actually, I don't know. I think that people are just like, oh, California, Mediterranean vibe, like that weather,
yeah.
same.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But
Whenever
I think
go
you'll
to a
feel
big
right
enough
at home.
city, yeah. Whenever I go to a big enough city, I always feel like, okay, I could see the similarities. Like there's, large buildings around me that are mostly just for like people living in small storefronts. But then when you get to the unique parts of Barcelona, like the architecture,
Okay.
the Olympic Village, things like that, that's when it really gets like unique.
All right.
Brendan has his own though.
Oh yeah, good about that. Culture, I think that the one that I went with was Mexico City, because
Snap.
that like they have that center strip where there's just museums and historic sites on both ends, right in the middle of the city. And I love, one of my favorite things that a destination could have is culture and history that you can really touch and feel. And I felt that way visiting like pyramids and estates and castles in Mexico City. They were so open about it. And I love that. It feels so much more connected than when you're just, staring at a plaque and something that's off in the distance. I get it. I totally understand the need to preserve, and I absolutely respect that. But when you can actually walk through these places, you get a whole different feel.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
so
awesome.
agree. Yeah.
I keep telling Trizzy she needs to get down to Mexico City because
Yeah.
like flights from LA are like $200 round trip.
I know. We want to. We definitely do. But It's always Cancun and Cabo.
It's also good.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
hard. But Mexico City, you're gonna have an amazing time. I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a fun place. And our bros trip 2018 was to Mexico City,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, we tore it up. And we have a friend that
So
lives down
fun.
there, so she brought us to
sweet.
like a little party that
Oh,
her like
for the
friends were throwing.
locals,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
That's really
Amazing.
See, I don't
fun.
want to rush Mexico City. I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of my trips are always rushed, and I think probably 5 days is good there, unless you
Yeah.
guys should stay longer.
We did less, but we are dying to go back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think of the places that we've done our bros trips to, that's one place where like we got to do it again
Yeah.
as soon as
Aw.
possible.
Yes. Oh, and it's so easy for us too from the
Mhm.
US, like, and you know, Mexico is one of the only countries letting Americans in right now as well.
Yeah.
True.
So that may be the only trip for the foreseeable future.
Right.
Mexico. All right. And the last pillar that we have to build your perfect country is outdoors and nature and
Mhm.
physical activity in general.
Yeah. No, we're both active individuals. We're runners. We're hikers. You know, we like to get out there. I just got back from a amazing trip up to New England, hitting like White Mountains in New Hampshire, and I went to Acadia. Stayed a couple nights at a bed and breakfast in Bar Harbor. Really wonderful. So I'm gonna bring it back domestic again and say, just honestly,
Wow.
any of the national parks. Like yes, I know Trizzy's about this.
Yeah.
Like.
Love it.
I love the national park system here in the U.S.
Yeah.
I think that one really memorable place was last year I went to Asheville, and you know it's really
Nice.
right in the middle of the Blue Ridge Parkway. And driving the parkway, seeing the leaves changing, and we just stop over on the side of the road and go on a hike that people had recommended and see waterfalls. Just beautiful. But
So
you
cool.
just can't go wrong. I mean, there's so much biodiversity in our national park system. So
Yeah.
if you can find a little town, you can't say enough about the Bar Harbors and Asheville's of the world that are like these dope little downtowns that
Oh,
get you into nature and are really like seamlessly integrated into the park itself.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it.
And I think that it's like important and nice that no matter what major destination I think someone would travel to in the US, there's probably a national park that's accessible and well worth the like drive that it would take to get there. So this one was probably the easiest answer for me because we had just done our trip last year to Peru as a big family. And the views that you see just walking through the Andes were the most breathtaking things I think I've ever experienced. Like I've never had, like the hikes were great. The like walking through Machu Picchu and through Cusco was incredible. So the best outdoor excursion trip for me had to be Peru.
that is well deserved, I think, that
Yeah.
honor bestowed upon Peru, because people, when we were down there, people are like, oh, I think now I know what people say about Peru. You kind of get like trekking fatigue because you're literally always hiking. Like
Mhm.
that's what
Yeah.
there is to do there. You hike and then go drink for a couple days and then go hike again for another 5 days and then you come
And
back.
you hike
so.
and you're like, there's no way that the view can get any better than this.
Right.
And then you turn a corner and you're like blown away. Of course it can. There's just Andes
Yep.
everywhere. Yeah.
I think Peru was the highest. Did you do Rainbow Mountain down there?
No, we didn't do Rainbow Mountain. We kind of had to like make decisions, and so we actually ended up spending more days in Machu Picchu. So that's
Of
what we did
course.
instead, and that I think was really rewarding. We did like Machu Picchu Mountain, which is like basically one of those peaks that rises above the
Yes.
ruins itself, and that was a really interesting and like perilous hike up these like steep steps.
Oh,
Really awesome,
amazing.
though.
Did you guys do Coco Canyon in the south near Arequipa?
No, that's another place we have to get back
Okay.
to. So Peru, I would say, is like a return destination 100%, because I know that there's more, like there's the deserts, there's also the
Yes.
rainforest there.
Yeah.
We stuck to the Sacred Valley when it came to
Nice.
like activities and trekking this time. I think also because our parents really wanted to like see that and do those important hikes. But I think that next time, I mean, to me, Peru has everything. Lima has some of the best food in the whole world.
Yes.
Highly ranked.
Yes.
And I love Peruvian.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah.
And I went to Astrid y Gaston in Lima, which is like one
Really?
of the top 10 restaurants in the world. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had to make a reservation like months in advance, and
Yeah.
it was like a multi-course meal for like
Mhm.
$150, which would cost $500 in the US. So
For sure.
I stay in
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
hostels, but I eat $200 dinners.
I love that.
One
The
of our
sacrifice.
South
That's a
American
good choice.
episodes.
And it's true. It's like, okay, something's got to give here. So yeah, that's all in our South America episode.
Nice.
Shameless
Right.
plug.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to wrap up your country building? Like, do you have a name for it, like this super country, or do you just want to say it really quickly, like the four that you picked?
I wish that I had come up with like a really funny name for the country. I was like trying to think about it last night, but also yesterday was my very last day at work where I had been for like 6 years, and I'm moving to a new job. So this is like this is a transitionary weekend. Not only this is the first time I'm being interviewed, but I'm about to start a new part of my career.
Oh my God,
Congrats.
congrats.
On transitioning during a pandemic.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I digress. But so just really quickly, the food of Buenos Aires, the nightlife and the clubs of Las Vegas, the culture of Barcelona with a Rio Carnival thrown in, and of course, access to any of the American national parks.
Oh, I
like
love
that.
that.
I will be visiting.
Me too.
And then Brenlandia has the
Brenlandia.
the food of Tel Aviv, the nightlife of Cartagena, the culture of Mexico City, and the outdoor excursions of Peru and Cusco.
Oof.
These are amazing.
Yeah. It sounds like a very tiring trip to both countries.
I know.
It's like, I'm going to party and then I'm going to hike 5 miles the next day.
But I'll just eat my ceviche on the hike, or like I'll eat my falafel on the hike up to 5,000 meters.
Oh man, I can't wait till you guys actually buy an island and build something like
Yes. We'll be your first guests, you guys.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
record live from the island.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. There'll be a podcast studio right on the island.
Ooh,
Yes.
yes.
100%.
All right. Now we're going to get into the T2A Q2A, which is the Ticket to Anywhere Quick to Answer segment. And the first question is, why do you guys travel?
Yep.
Oh, that's a good one. Why do we travel? I think that what we've realized during the course of the pandemic is we travel to meet new people.
And adventure.
Of course. My favorite question, do you have any rituals or routines when you arrive in a new place, a new city, a new country, a new hotel?
First thing I do is get a beer in the country, and then I can feel like, check, I'm here.
Love it.
That would probably be my same answer. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Cool. All right. And for the last one, what's the best travel purchase or investment that you guys made like before and or during a travel?
Definitely my new travel backpack with Osprey, my new Osprey travel backpack. It is, I like to travel with just a large backpack, so I feel a little bit more mobile, agile, able to like run to that plane if I need to. So I would say that the big 65-liter Osprey backpack has been my best purchase.
I would say right before our Peru trip, I just got like a nice like travel jacket, and it made me feel like a very official like adventurer travel boy. And so I now that's what I take with me where I go, and I think that would be my best purchase off the top of my head.
You're like, adventure boy to the rescue.
It's a mindset.
Oh, I bet you turn into a superhero when you put that on, huh?
Exactly. Vacation time.
Let's do this.
Yeah. That's
all right.
great.
Anyways, you guys I can't wait to visit Jared's country. He's still coming up with a name, and Brenlandia will be there when you first buy your islands. Thank you so much for coming onto our show, being our guest today. Tell everyone where to find you. Where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you. You can find our blog at CottaBrothersTravelClub.com. That's also where you can access either that's where you can access our podcast on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I still need to add the Google Play button as well but we're on Google Play now too. And then you can follow us at Cotta Bros Travel Club, Cotta Bros _Travel Club. That's a little bit tricky. But yeah, so we're on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. And then obviously on the website and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hope people are going to be running to find out more about these countries and hearing your family on the pod.
We huge shout out to our Grandma Letty, for really installing the travel bug and the wanderlust into the Cotta brothers and into the whole family in general. So
That
huge
is
shout out
so
to
beautiful.
the matriarch.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Well, there's another episode of Ticket to Anywhere podcast. Thank you, Cotta Brothers. We appreciate you guys being on, and you can find us on YouTube, Ticket number 2 Anywhere podcast, and we're also streaming on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, Stitcher, Google, and Pocket Casts.
And find us on social media at Ticket to Anywhere Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter at T2A Podcast. Cotta Brothers, thank you again. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Thank you for having us.